states. And in his own words, he writes in this article about the aggregation of calls and the intent to do that. And he says, finally, another important consideration in determining a strategic direction for Convention of States movement are the opinions of several constitutional scholars, Paulson, Black, Dillinger, Kaplan, et al., that Congress lacks the authority to call and sanction a limited convention of states. There's a possibility that opponents of COS will ask the Supreme Court to rule on the matter, and an originalist majority could decide in favor of the opponents. We need to make sure that we understand the 1973 Federal Convention Act that passed the Senate but not the House. And it says that Congress will control.
You could wrap up your remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. I'm finished.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mann. Tracy Friends, followed by Christina Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Representative. And I appreciate the public hearing to discuss the possibility of the Convention of States. This is our republic in practice, and I appreciate it. I also understand that our House Judiciary specifically has a number of delegates who do stand up for what is right. They do have the strength and moral character to try to defend our constitutions, both state and federal, and I praise God for it. Which is why we are here today. Our federal government is operating grossly outside of the constitutional authority, working against its own citizens, as we all see and do not need to discuss here. But our Constitution was drafted by leaders among leaders and is the greatest, being the longest standing Constitution in the world. Colonel George Mason did speak up 2 days before its signing to bring such a provision into the Constitution as this, understanding the likelihood that man would become swollen with its own power and our government become tyrannical. Exactly what we are witnessing in our own country here today. I do support, just as our founders unanimously agreed to this Article 5, I also see no other legal way for our country to take itself back from the government. I believe we are at a crucial time, and as I speak with others across the state who believe that we are in a perilous time, the Article 5 is a constitutional, by the book manner.
Thank you, Ms. Friends. You could wrap up your remarks, please.
That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Christina Miller, followed by Kevin Honecker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the committee. Can you hear me well?
Very well, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. We the people have allowed our federal government to run out of control for years. We are losing our republic, and we the people and our states need to figure out how to pull ourselves together. We need a convention of states now because Washington will never fix itself. It will never limit its own power or restore decision-making authority back to the people in the states. I joined COS about 6 years ago because I understood even back then that we were losing our republic with all the radical changes. Then came 2020 election and the Democrats tried to make it easier to break the law. They knew that with an army of lawyers to the swing states that they could change election laws right before the election. We cannot let them continue to let this happen. American people need to have the confidence in every legal vote that is counted and every vote is legitimate. A convention of states can end the threat of a federal takeover of our election process. How about addressing term limits on federal appointees, congressmen, and staffers, and maybe even SCOTUS? We might want to think about repealing the 17th Amendment. There are many choices that our convention can come up with. And as of course, we would all like Washington to balance their budget and stop the endless spending. It's time to hold Washington and those who elected us to keep them accountable.
Your remarks, please.
Yes, sir. I strongly encourage you as our employees to support an Article 5 resolution convention of states, and find it as we do our duty to pass the resolution this year. It's time to take action and rein in the federal government and stop the madness they have created, rein in their power, drain the sewer, and flush them out. Again, we pray for your support, and we pray that we are not too late.
Thank you very much. Kevin Honecker, followed by Henry Payette. Kevin Honecker, are you with us, Kevin? We'll try to get back with you, Kevin, to see if we can get you online. Henry Payette, followed by Beth Block. Henry Payette, if you're speaking, you need to mute your mic. Henry Payette. Okay, we'll try to get back with Henry. And Beth Block, followed by Joanne Martin. Beth Block.
Chairman, if allowable, I'd like to yield my time to Sean Meehan.
Sean Meehan has already spoken. Would
Thank
you
you,
like
Chair.
would you like to speak, Ms. Block?
I yield to the next.
Oh, very well, thank you. Joanne Martin, followed by Eli Brumwell.
Hello, this is Joanna Martin. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank
Oh,
you,
Thank
Joanne.
you. I oppose the applications for a convention. Our Declaration of Independence recognizes that a people have the right to throw off their government and set up a new one. James Madison invoked this in Federalist Number 40 as justification for the delegates to the Federal Amendments Convention of 1787, ignoring their instructions to propose amendments to the Articles of Confederation and instead writing a new constitution with an easier mode of ratification. If there is a convention today, this can happen again. Nothing in Article 5 or anywhere in the Constitution says the states select the delegates and control what they do. Pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, last clause, Congress has the power to make the laws necessary and proper to call, organize the convention. Congress recognizes that it alone has the power to determine the number and selection process for delegates. If there is a convention, will Congress appoint delegates who approve the proposed Constitution for the new states of America? Under that Constitution, the states are dissolved and replaced by regional governments answerable to the new national government. Will the delegates approve the Constitution the globalist Council on Foreign Relations wants? A constitution which moves the United States into the North American Union.
Thank you,
Or
Ms.
some
Martin.
other.
Could you wrap up your comments, please?
Any new constitution has its own mode of ratification. The new state's constitution is ratified by a national referendum, and those who count the votes will determine the outcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Eli Brumwell, followed by Janine Hanson. Brumwell, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. And I'm the Policy Director for the ACLU of West Virginia. I'm here to speak in opposition to calling for an Article 5 convention to propose amendments and any accompanying legislation. In my 6 sessions with the ACLU, we've dealt with the concept of calling an Article 5 convention every year. The standard debate is both sides coming armed with academic articles, legal analyses, and interpretations of historical events. One side will inevitably argue that a convention of states is pursuant to Article 5 can be controlled. Those in opposition will argue that it can be controlled, and special interest will for the convention and the ratification. I know many of the people in the Judiciary Committee have been here for rights, and if they want that research and those articles, I'm happy to provide them. But I want to make sure that people understand, if you pass this, you're playing Russian roulette with the U.S. Constitution and the rights contained therein. The truth is, if we ever open this Pandora's box, all the academic speculation, the law journal articles, and the varied interpretations won't matter. The issues will be lobbied, legislated, and litigated, and if any one of them goes awry, we start up the parade of horribles. If we're frustrated with the lack of representation or accountability in the federal government, there are better ways to address this than walking the Constitution through a minefield. There are reforms to elections that can encourage more accountability and responsiveness. Let's look into those options. Now, I want to step back for a moment and decide what's an acceptable degree of risk to the Constitution, a document everyone swore to uphold. Is it 1%? Is it 5%? Now, if you believe the convention is more likely than not to be constrained and limited, and I don't believe that, are you 99% sure of that, or even 95% sure? If you really think about it, are you sure that this Constitution is acceptable?
Please? Could you wrap up your
I'll
remarks?
wrap up. I'll wrap it up. I suggest that if your answer is yes, you've got a low threshold for preserving the Constitution or vastly overestimate the safety of the process. Reject these proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baumwell. Has Kevin Honecker or Henry Payette joined us? And if you're speaking, you need to unmute your mic. Neither of them. Okay, it'll be Joseph Schill followed by Grant Martin.
Mr. Chairman, this is Janine Hanson. I thought you called my name.
Well, it's certainly a possibility. I did. I am sorry. Yes, Janine Hanson, please proceed, followed by Joseph Schill. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry that I overlooked you there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the committee and Mr. Chairman. My name is Janine Hanson. I'm the National Constitutional Issues Chairman for Eagle Forum. We oppose any Article 5 conventions. I think it's very instructive to look at the information from the Convention of States themselves. In their pocket guide from 2018, they list dozens of possible amendments to the Constitution, including some on healthcare, education, elections, the Supreme Court, energy policy. So they really, when they tell you they want a limited convention, is completely erroneous. We saw this recently in the state of Georgia, where they were in their own Article 5, placed in that convention, in that resolution, a list of states and resolutions they could come together with. In other words, they would use the balanced budget amendment to combine with a Bill of Rights from 1789 from New York, from 3 Civil War resolutions from New Jersey, Kentucky, Illinois, and 2 from 1901 from Oregon and Washington. So because they have been unable to achieve their goal of achieving the 34 states, they are now trying to aggregate. And with these, they are going clear back to 1789. This is incredible that they would ignore contemporaneous ideas of the nation and try to amend the Constitution by using such old applications.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Could you please wrap up your remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I will wrap them up. We stand on the brink of losing our Constitution if they achieve the numbers of resolutions that they need by aggregation, and our rights will be abrogated, such as, most importantly, the right to keep and bear arms, freedom of speech, and religion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Joseph Schill, followed by Grant Martin. Joseph Schill. And if you're speaking, need to unmute your mic. Mr. Schill, are you there? We'll try to come back. Grant Martin, followed by Mark Meckler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable committee members. Great to be here. First, I want to thank you for your service in the state legislature, a vitally important feature of this republic, which is why we're here today. The whole purpose of HCR 29 is to rein in the federal government and pull power back to West Virginians, so that people just like this can talk to you, whereas they can't talk to the people in Washington, D.C. So I'm asking for your support of HCR 29 because we have the respect for and trust in you to do the right things. We have the trust that you will rein in the federal government, and we believe in the republic which we stand, and that you are the key component of what makes this nation so great, because our people can talk to you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meckler. Barbara Thomas, followed by Ruth Holland.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark Meckler. You just skipped me. That was Grant Martin.
Okay, I apologize. Mark, please proceed, then followed by Barbara Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mark Meckler, and I am the president and one of the founders of Convention of States, the organization moving forward with this effort. We've now passed the Convention of States resolution, which here is HCR 29 in 15 states around the country. We hope that West Virginia will join us this week and become number 16. We represent, and I sit before you today representing over 16,000 people in the state of West Virginia that have signed petitions in support. You'll note that the vast majority of the people speaking today in opposition are from out of state. They have no relationship to West Virginia. Again, I represent over 16,000 people who are asking you to limit the scope, the power, and the jurisdiction of federal government through a convention as put into the Constitution by the founders unanimously. They aimed directly at you, Mr. Chairman, and your fellow members of the House of Delegates there because they believed that you were closest to the people and would best represent the people against an out-of-control federal government. And simply, that's what we're asking you to do today. The vast majority of Americans believe, and certainly the vast majority of West Virginians believe, the federal government is out of control. It is time to take a stand, and we ask you to do so by voting to pass HCR 29 out of your committee and to the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Meckler. Now, Barbara Thomas, followed by Ruth Holland. Barbara?
Hi.
You're up.
Yes, I'm here.
Please
Can you
proceed.
hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for the honor of testifying before you. I'm a citizen of West Virginia and I reside in Berkeley County. I've been a volunteer for COS since early 2014. I'm a mom of 4, a grandmother of 12, and a great-grandmother of 2. I stand here to speak for them, my posterity. Our republic has always been looked at as an experiment in government. Often during the past 130 years, it's been tried, tested, and found lacking. So we, through you, state legislators, use the U.S. Constitution to fix it via Article 5. 27 times we, through our state legislators, have ratified amendments proposed by Congress to adjust our path forward as a republic. Article 5 gives another method to propose amendments, that is through a convention of the states. This method has controls, it has limits. The resolutions that we are passing, the commissions that you all give your commissioners and send to this convention are all legal and binding on your commissioners to you. Another thing is that any proposed amendment that comes out of this convention does not affect our U.S. Constitution one iota until it is ratified by 38 states. Will Congress yield its power usurped from the states and the people? Will it ever vote to send a proposed amendment to the states for ratification that will return any authority?
Thank you, Ms. Holland.
Thank you. I rise in support. Yes, sir. Thank you. I support Convention of States Resolution HCR 29 and call for the states and all of my state legislators to support that also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ruth Holland, followed by Robert Brown. Ruth Holland, are you with us? Need to unmute your mic. If not, Robert Brown, followed by Evan Malk. Robert Brown, are you with us? Need to unmute your microphone.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you faintly.
If I get a little closer here, can you hear me okay?
Yes, that is better.
Okay. Thank you for the time this morning. Obviously, in 90 seconds or even 5 minutes, there's really not enough time to go into the depth of this topic. I consider this probably the single most important issue that the state legislature will be considering this year. And really the only way to get proper information on this is something much larger than any kind of committee hearing could venture. Just last week in the state of Montana, the Montana Senate leadership issued a formal challenge to the Convention of States founder Mark Meckler to debate me in an actual formal Lincoln Douglas style debate. That they felt the only way they could properly understand this issue is to get both sides to have plenty of time to outline and present evidence. I have plenty of evidence, for example, that the 1787 convention was a runaway convention. More than a dozen of the founders declared so. I've challenged Mark Meckler, founder of Convention of States, to provide even one delegate from the 1787 convention who claimed they had the authority to replace the Articles of Confederation. He has failed to ever produce such evidence. Evidence is the key word here. Since that time, it's been pointed out by several other testimonies this morning that the 1787 convention also changed their rules of ratification. We may have a 3/4 ratification requirement today, 3/4 of the states. They had 100% back in 1787. They simply discarded that rule and appealed to the power of the people to alter or abolish. If that was legitimate for them to do in
Thank you, Mr.
1787,
Brown. Could you wrap up your remarks, please?
absolutely. If it was legitimate in 1787 for them to ignore their delegate commissions and change the ratification process, it would be equally legitimate for them to do so today in the convention. I strongly oppose any call at this time for an Article 5 convention.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Evan Malk, followed by Jay Taylor. Mr. Malk, are you with us? Please unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes, please.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is Evan Mulch out of South Carolina. I'm the East Regional Director for the John Birch Society. I agree. Mark Meckler should debate Robert Brown. I would love to see that happen, but Mark Meckler says that those of us on our side are dishonest. Well, if that's true, why did he have Justice Scalia on the Convention of States webpage?
Mr. Malch, please address your comments to the chair, but not regarding other speakers. That's a violation of the rules of the that we established at the beginning of this. So
Okay.
Please proceed, but address the issues, not other speakers, please.
Okay, Chair. The Convention of States project has put in to their webpage, it's not currently on there, but they did have it as that Justice Scalia was an endorser of their project for a number of years. And there's some dishonesty in that because if you do the research, Justice Scalia never endorsed the Convention of States project. And certainly after I pass away, I hope nobody puts me as somebody that endorses a project after I pass away, certainly if I never had even been part of it. And so I want this to be known by the chair because also their Facebook page once put that the Second Amendment should be open to a clarification clause. And this is very dishonest on their part because they go around states telling their good-meaning volunteers that the only reason they want to call this Article 5 convention
Mr.
is...
Paul, could you please wrap up your comments, please?
Yes, I do not want the Second Amendment changed, and I do want to see a debate happen between Mark Meckler and Robert Brown. And thank you so much for allowing us to speak today.
Thank you. Jay Taylor, followed by Dan Starkey. Mr. Taylor, are you with us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, my name is Jay Taylor. I'm a member of the Republican Executive Committee as County Chair and elected member from the 14th Senatorial District. I'm also the Legislative Liaison for Convention of the States Project in West Virginia for the past 8 years. I first got involved in Convention of States when Mark Meckler wrote his Liberty Amendments book. I knew that Article 5 was the only way we'd be able to save our country and restore what our founding fathers intended. I've had the honor of escorting several distinguished guests over the years. You might remember former U.S. Senator Tom Coburn visiting here at the Capitol and at one of our state executive committee meetings where we endorsed Convention of States and put it into our party platform. The late senator was very sick in his final years of life, but always fought for Convention of States because he truly believed in America. We've also had Michael Ferris visit and talk to many of you about Convention of States. He has been published in the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy, talking about the fallacies of the runaway convention argument. Former U.S. Senator Jim DeMint also visited during one of the 4 times we passed out of the West Virginia Senate. All of these patriots care deeply for our country and want you to join them in saving America and restoring our country to what the founding fathers intended. The 1787 convention wasn't called under Article 5. These arguments about a runaway are just silly at best.
Thank you, Mr.
We have to
Could
save
you
our
wrap up
country.
remarks, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for your time and I urge passion.
Thank you. Dan Starkey, followed by Julie Archer. Mr. Starkey, are you with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I hope you can hear me well.
I can very well. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity. My name is Dan Starkey. I am a 20-year veteran of the United States Air Force. I just want to speak on behalf of the Constitution that I offered my life to defend. We are no longer living in a republic of federated states that join together for the common good of those states, but a centrally controlled government system put together for the sake of what Woodrow Wilson thought would be efficient. That is, a government run by experts. We are now in danger of sinking into totalitarianism. Most policy at the federal level is promulgated by what I like to call the Ivy League brain trust. Much legislation is written by benefactors of congressional members who then profit from the legislation. The Federal Executive Service is unaccountable and untouchable by design. They spew out regulations until we, the people, cannot live our daily lives without breaking some unlegislated law somewhere. And then the federal court, too often populated by jurists, not by jurists, but by ideologues. The court has turned a simple document that can be understood by any high school graduate into a 3,000-page monstrosity that only a law professor can even begin to fathom. I've been told that it would take a miracle to call an Article 5 convention. Well, you and I can't do miracles.
Could you please wrap up your remarks, please?
Yes, sir. We cannot do miracles. We can only bring the loaves and fishes. Pass the Convention of States resolution out of your committee and let the representatives of the people of West Virginia vote on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Starkey. Julie Archer, followed by Brian Talamy. Julie Archer, are you with us? Need to unmute your mic. Miss Archer? Brian Talamy, are you with us? Please unmute your microphone. Brian Talamy? I want to go back. Is Joseph Schill with us? How about Kevin Honecker? Henry Payette? I want to read a comment that was given to me in writing. A gentleman did register as he was supposed to, but found out his technology could not bring him here. His name is Gene Holbert. He supports the Convention of States, and he wanted a quote read. G. Washington said, "Influence is no government. Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair." Folks, that is a conclusion of our hearing. If you have additional comments or papers that you would like to present, you can send them to our clerk here at the House on Committee of the Judiciary, and you can send them to our clerk, Mark White, and his email address is mark.white@wvhouse.gov. And I want to thank all of you. I'm sorry for the rigidness of this hearing. It's just the nature of how we need to do things so that we can try to give everyone an opportunity to speak. And again, this is Tom Fast. I am the vice chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary, and I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. We value all of your opinions. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Andy, this is
Yes.
Tamara. This is Tamara. I'm waiting as well. I never got called on. You apparently didn't either.
That's right.
Really unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And they had the time.
They did. I have a phone call coming in from West Virginia right now. I'll take it. I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Okay. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you for being ready.
Yeah, thank you.
Tamara, is that you from Texas? Hello?
Yeah, Tamara
Hi,
was
this
on,
is
but she
Barbara
had to
Thomas.
take a call.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.